Well, here we are, 9 years into this journey of finger amputation. It's been the most challenging, fulfilling, struggling event of my life. So many ups and downs, struggles, but also triumphs. The fact that I was 6 months into my second marriage. We were on a high. We had just gotten back from our honeymoon. And about 10 days later, I have an accident at work that puts me in the hospital for 5 days. And I come out with a hand that looks like that. And then through all those challenges of the last 9 years, this is what my hand looks like today, a full 3-finger amputation. For 8 months, we tried to save as much as possible. But then became apparent that it was best to take things away. What have I learned? The biggest thing that I've learned, we don't know what we don't know. I didn't know what it was like to be an amputee 10 years ago. I was healthy, living life. And then to wake up in the hospital bed with parts of 3 fingers missing, into a new marriage, the feeling of loss, losing a part of my body that was never going to come back again. The struggle of enduring every day, going to PT and therapy 2, 3, 4 times a week. That was a full-time job for 8 months, not knowing all the mental bandwidth that this amputation takes up and consumes. But I've been blessed. I have so many blessings to be thankful for. The people I've met along this journey. If it wasn't for the amputation, there's a lot of people I would have never met. Some of the most amazing people. some of them with challenges bigger than mine, some of them with smaller challenges. One of the things that I have learned is, again, we don't know what we don't know. This is a post from a friend of mine, again, that I would not have met if it wasn't for the amputation. His name's Chris WOULDN, and he's kind of my mere twin. His challenge, he has, call it the claw like me, 2 fingers to his left hand instead of his right, but he was born that way. And he says, my disability doesn't owe you visual proof. Not every disability comes with a wheelchair. Not every pain shows up on an x-ray. Not every struggle makes a sound. But society still treats visibility as credibility. If people can't see it, they doubt it. They question accommodations. They label us dramatic or lazy. They demand explanation, or even worse, they say you're faking it. This is the problem of prove-it culture. People with invisible disabilities are expected to perform their pain just to be believed. Let's be clear. Disability is not about how someone looks. It's about how systems exclude them. We need to unlearn what disability looks like. Here's a better way to show up. Believe people the first time they tell you their needs. Stop assigning credibility based on appearance. Don't trade disclosure for dignity. Access shouldn't depend upon explaining your existence. The future of inclusion isn't visible. The future of inclusion is belief, putting people first. That's one of the biggest struggles that I've had over the last 9 years. It's only a couple of fingers. You know how many times I've heard that? Not just to my face, but to other finger amputees that I have taught to, have counseled with, done peer visits with. How many times I get a text message saying they don't understand me, they don't get it. Society looks at size as being more disabled. And not to take anything away from any other amputation, but to explain the challenges I live with each and every day. If your amputation is above your wrist, you don't have any choice. You don't have a hand. The challenges with us finger partial hand amputees are We're still trying to do everything every day just like we did before, yet with limitations. Limitations from limb loss. Might be small, might be big. It's still a limitation. And how much we beat ourselves up trying to do those things again in our head. I can still do everything I did before the accident, but it's awkward. It feels funny to go swimming, to use that as an example. As you're swimming, doing the crawl through the swimming pool, you feel things subconsciously. You feel the water. Excuse me. Gliding between your fingers, wrapping around it. You have that feeling. So with this stroke, it's all natural. Then comes this stroke, and I don't have that feeling. So then my mind shifts. Something's wrong here. Natural, weird, natural, weird, natural, weird. Over and over again. The struggles with everything I try to do. But people don't see that. They don't understand it. As I've been blessed to travel the world speaking, I've come up with some scenarios to help bring the audience into my world. You never know what it's like until you're walking in someone else's shoes. Yet, so many times, I've been told, just do it this way. It's no big deal. See? It's just like this. Yet, then I say, hold on a second. How about I set you up with my challenge? The most frequent thing I do is I tape up, or ask them to tape up 3 fingers on their dominant hand and not use them. And they go, oh, no problem, I'll do that. And I'll pull the tape out, and all of a sudden, oh, we don't have time to do that. Think about that for a second. I don't have that option. Yet, you're quick to judge. You're quick to say it's this easy, but you run away when I ask you to walk in my shoes for a minute. Life isn't easy, that's for sure. You know, one of the blessings I had after my accident was still having a job. Laying in the hospital bed, missing 60% of my hand, worrying what life was going to be like, that was a fear. You know, at the time I was the husband, the father, the breadwinner, and I didn't know for sure if I was going to have a job. I'm grateful for the company for keeping me on. But every day was a struggle. Every day I had people challenging me, questioning me as to what I could and couldn't do. Telling me what I could and couldn't do. And then there was the mental struggle of the fact of if I had not been wearing gloves the day of my accident, I'd still have 3 fingers. It was the glove that caused me to lose my fingers. But that was the company policy, that I had to wear that glove. The guilt, the shame in knowing if I had not had that glove on, I'd still have fingers. Living with that for seven, 8 years was very taxing on my mental. At the same time, then I start to get my voice and go to the company and say, hey, we need to have a little discussion here. I think there's some things with my limitations now that are putting me into unsafe situations. And how it took months to come to a resolution as to what I could and I couldn't do at work safely, to give me a little bit more peace of mind and security. The fear, would I be out doing something and have another accident? Living with pain. Pain takes you to some dark places. I can remember one day at an appointment with my pain management doctor, and I tell her, you know, it hurts bad, doc. It sucks. There's days that I just want to take and cut my hand off at the wrist, get it over and done with, to get away from the pain. And she looks me in the eye and tells me, don't go there, because that pain is not in your hand. That pain is in your head. You might feel like it's in your hand, but it's in your head. Learning those struggles. How much is in our head? It's been a journey of learning. Again, a blessing. A blessing to take a dive into the mental health side of things, to learn, to voice, to talk about our struggles. We need to talk more about our struggles. Everything, you know, in relationship, to be open and honest, to be able to say something without it hurting someone else's feelings, to have just discussions. Through this journey, I have had 9 surgeries, 3 skin grafts, had 10 pins, a plate, and a half dozen screws in my body at one point. Having that removed, having 2 revisions. Again, early on, I was missing parts of 3 fingers. Now I'm missing basically all of 3 fingers. What are the long-term effects? The fact that this is my pinch grip from thumb to pinky, of which over the time has made my pinky curve towards my thumb. Compared to 9 years ago, my pinky was straight as the other one. Having issues with the joints, arthritis and stuff, because of that. So with that, I wear my prosthesis as much as possible to keep this as long as possible. The possibility that down the road I might ask to have it removed when I lose function. We, again, don't know what we don't know. It's a journey. Each one of us is different. Our accidents, our traumas are all different. We're some of the hardest to work with in that sense. You know, in other amputations, it's just the level. But there's so much more. At the time of my amputation, this company, Point Designs, wasn't even a company. Educating the doctors, you know, they're taught to try and save as much as possible. But I've also learned less is more. By taking things away, I gained more by having a prosthesis, making me feel more whole or complete at times. Was a big struggle. You know, again, talking about appearance, where recently I've been taking dance classes, and I've progressed along to some of the advanced moves, and not realizing that, yes, this putting my prosthesis on each day makes me feel more whole or complete again, gives me ability to do a lot of things. But coming to realize that it also is always in the back of my head. Putting it on is a benefit, but also a crutch. I learned that it affected my timing in the dance routines and stuff. I'd be going along and all of a sudden I forget my timing because I get distracted feeling something, hearing the click of my finger moving and not having touch sensation, having to look down to see where it is. So then recently, I started dancing without my prosthesis. At class, it was okay because the members in my class had become a family. They had seen my struggles. We had talked about things for months and everything. But then I go out to a social event without my prosthesis, and I start getting looks from people. People avoid me, or it appears that they're avoiding me. So then the fear starts creeping in. One of the biggest things, like I said, at the time of my accident, I was 6 months into my second marriage. That lasted 4 years. We parted ways. It was for the best for both of us. We both had challenges that we needed to work on ourselves. And jumping into the dating apps. Again, appearance is so much. As you're building that profile, how do you describe yourself? How do you describe your amputation? I post pictures of myself, of my amputation, of my prosthesis. We talk for a period of time. Then we meet. And all of a sudden they see, oh, I'm not whole. I have something wrong with me. I'm missing fingers. I didn't notice that in your profile. So you shift things up. You mention it in your profile. There's avoidance. There's a game. Back and forth. Then you start dating people. All is good. And then the fears and struggles again of not being full or whole or complete start creeping in, which builds walls, tears things apart, sends fear into your head. Communications. That is everything. You know, to walk down the street and you walk past 100 people. You have no clue. Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they single? Are they a widow or widower? Do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Great grandkids? Are they disowned from their family? Are they this? Are they that? We never know. Again, it boils down to communications and acceptance. We don't know what we don't know. In my blessings of my challenges, I've had the opportunity to talk and listen to some of the best hand surgeons in the world. They're great at putting us back together, do amazing things, but they're with us for a period of time. The doctors, the nurses, all of them are with us for a period of time. And I think that's a crutch in a sense. It gives them a false sense of security that they've healed us and sent us down the road and all is good. When in all actuality, all is not good. Again, what is the long-term effects of not having a prosthesis? The things I've learned is finger partial hand amputation is the largest slice of the upper limb amputation world, over 90%. Yet less than 5% get a prosthesis. Those are some big numbers, but let's look at some other numbers. In the 9 years that I've been an amputee, there's been over 400,000 finger amputations in the USA. Of that 400,000, less than 25,000 have received a prosthesis. Think of that for a minute. But oh, it's no big deal. It's only a couple of fingers. Yeah, try it for a day. Your most used, least recognized are your fingers. You use them from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. And each one has its own job and task. You know, your number one pinch grip is your thumb index. You use it for everything. So if you're losing part of your thumb or index finger, that's a bigger challenge than other fingers. But then your pinky is your power. So you lose grip, losing your pinky. Then there's the differences in my prosthesis. Again, I've learned so much about prosthetics. Majority out there are carbon fabricated. But for an arm or a leg, it goes on. There's muscle mass. Your hand is so much different. It's lean and moves in so many different directions. Does so much. First time I got fitted for a prosthetic, I get it and I put it on, and my CPO asked me, well, How's it feel? I don't know. You tell me. Feels like I'm wearing a cast with fingers attached to it. Think about that for a second. Have you broken your hand and had to wear a cast for a period of time? This encapsulates my whole hand, restricts my movement. Again, one of my blessings is the fact that I have been involved in some of the latest and greatest technology. "3D printing is amazing. The stuff they can do that they can't do in traditional fabrication, prosthetics. The fact that this one is open on the backside allows me more movement, flexing. I can get tighter grips, do more with. But then I hear stories, it's good enough. What's good enough? In your eyes and my eyes, good enough can mean a big difference. We need to be flexible. What works for me might not work for you. I've learned compassion, empathy, and grace. Have to have grace for myself. Have grace for individuals. Have grace for the general public that do not understand or know what I'm going through. With that, the general public needs to have grace for us, for being able to give us room when we need it. To quit judging. Again, my friend Chris posted this: what it's like to be disabled. Imagine being disbelieved every day, called a lost cause, stared at constantly, told it's all in your head, get over it, suck up, buttercup, asked invasive questions. Well, why can't you do that? Treated like a charity case, regarded as pretty and capable, doubted because you look fine. You know, my hand's out of sight, I'm 100% whole. Why can't you do it? Blamed for not trying hard enough. Ignored for sharing your lived reality. Excluded from spaces with no explanation. Judged for using resources you don't need. seen as an inspiration rather than an asset. Denied access because you need it, your need is not visible. Dehumanized by systems that aren't built for you. We live in a two-handed world. Discredited when you ask for support that you need. You know, that is one thing I've learned, is to be humble enough to ask for help. It's hard. Defined more via others' assumptions than your life. Ableism causes all of the above and more. Smart leaders are part of a health organization. And no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That's a big thing. You know, I talk about my limitations, and within my world, my limitations are both on the small, fine motor skills and the large sizes also. One of the things that I've learned is the different finger lengths give me different abilities. For 8 years, all my fingers were the same length. And I could only grip things certain sizes. Then this last time I got longer fingers, and it opened up the world to some new things that I could grab and pick up that I couldn't before. Having to have people help you do things where so many times in the past I could get it done by myself. So with that, I ask that the world have compassion for everybody. It's 4th of July weekend here. And at a gathering with family and friends, I asked several of them to walk in my shoes for a period of time, to tape up 3 fingers on their dominant hand, index, middle, and ring finger, and go about the day. It is interesting. Some went for a short period of time, and the struggle got real, and they took it off. Others went longer, and some kept it on for several hours. But every time the struggle started to get real is when they started taking it off. The struggle is real. I don't get the option of taking the tape off. Have compassion and empathy for everyone. Even yourself. Find the grace to love yourself through it all. Every day is a new day. I've been blessed, like I say, but I still struggle. I still have a lot of challenges in life, but I keep going. For 9 years I've been going, and I will keep going. I will have good days. I will have bad days. And that's the way it's been throughout life. With good days and bad days, we all have them. But again, have compassion and empathy for all of your friends, everyone in life. Help spread the love. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me of what my life has been for the last 9 years. I love you all.